Hello, hello. It is the Trading Captain, and I am currently sitting down $159.20. Pretty terrible day for me, honestly. As far as my actual trades, I didn't take that many, and that wasn't because there was an opportunity, there was, but it was just that I had to walk away. After taking this pretty big loss on move, I was at max loss, and I just had to stop. So, first off, let me break down what exactly happened. So we had GLTO, which was a crazy, crazy move, ended up moving 400%. And this did meet all my pillars that I was looking for, but unfortunately, this was just pulling away a little bit too fast for me, and I did not really want to take any of these earlier setups. Right, early on in the move, we didn't have really a clean pullback. Everything was more just micro pullbacks, very high momentum, and it just didn't really give a good opportunity to me. Now, this was probably a short squeeze candidate if I had to guess. This thing had been selling off for a while on the daily chart, and since I had this prior history of making the move, it's not surprising that it made this move. But given the cold market context, plus given the lack of safe entries on the front side, I didn't really feel like there was a good opportunity for me to chase this. I mean, this was a bit of a curl, but at this point, we're talking up 300%. I thought the move might have been done, so I didn't touch it. With that said, this really shifted my mindset going from here forward. I said this on the stream when I was live, but my whole context shift from here was this was a 400% move. People are going to be looking for the next big move like this, and I thought this would be a good opportunity to increase aggression. So I went into VERO with this mindset to where I was willing to trade more aggressively, but unfortunately my timing just didn't really line up well. So I had actually tried to buy in here. See if I can find it. Yeah, so I actually had tried to buy in here right around the 250, 245 range, which is where I was aiming for this pullback. And unfortunately, I was just a few cents off. And then immediately after, we saw a massive squeeze where it went up about 70 cents. So very unfortunate that I missed that. I experienced a bit of FOMO at this point. Whenever we saw this topping tail and it pulled back significantly, this is a bit more of an intense pullback than GLTO. I did note this, but I was willing to give it another chance because I was in this mindset to where I need to push myself a little bit. And that's really what I was trying to do here. I did end up getting filled here. However, after seeing it consolidate for about a minute or two, I was a bit worried that this topping tail plus the heavier volume selling down might have been too much of a bearish indicator. So I ended up bailing just to see the stock rally another 50, 60, 70 cents. So I decided on this next pullback, I would add into this, and I ended up going into 200 shares with this one. So I added into this one, right? So you had 50 on the first and then 100, 200 on the next one. And really, it just didn't end up holding. I realized once we were around the 250s, 260s that this was struggling too much. It seemed like we were really getting to the backside of the move, so I ended up cutting the trade. And it did end up rallying back up, but honestly, me cutting it around the 250s still felt like the right decision because there was too much clear bearish signals. I think this was really a case of me overextending on this one. The loss wasn't really that bad, right? Just looking at the loss for the trade, it was only 25, 26 bucks or so. That's still really within expectations, especially since I was jumping in a little more aggressively, right? 200 shares, double size, and only a $26 loss. That's actually not bad. However, next we had move. So, well, before I go to that, let me go ahead and show loop. So this was another one on watch. Maybe this was an indicator to slow down. But we had move, it had news, ended up moving 100% instantly on the first candle, but then gave everything back. This could be a signal that the bulls are losing conviction. This didn't really meet the pillars though, because this was a 45 million or so shares outstanding stock. So this really didn't meet the criteria. So I was willing to let this off as a pass, saying, okay, this just wasn't the greatest setup. Because then when we had move, this one had an extremely low float. Shares outstanding was also very low, both under 1 million. And I was looking at it here during this first move that it made. So I had actually tried to buy during this pullback, and I put 2 orders out and both of them missed. They didn't get filled. And then immediately after, this thing rockets up, basically $5 or $6 a share. Probably max I would have realistically been able to catch would be $3 to $4 of the move. But this was a very, very aggressive entry by me that I was attempting, and seeing me miss about $3, $4 a share, somewhat, I think it somewhat put me on tilt. Then whenever we see it pull back and I try to add, and I add back in as it drops lower, granted with reduced size, I was taking half size because this thing is extremely volatile, it still ends up failing. At least on the initial, right? So seeing this fail, I ended up, where did I end up bailing out at? 692. So I ended up bailing out right around here, one of these candles, I believe. And I don't regret doing this. Unfortunately, it did end up rallying back up, but considering how volatile this thing was, it is realistic this could have came all the way back down and just stayed there. And I would have lost another $100 or so if I would have held through that entire retracement. So very unfortunate that I got caught in a big part of this rug pull, but that's kind of the reality of trading something this aggressive. When you're trading micro float stocks that are less than $1 million, especially in such extreme volatility, it should be expected. I do believe this was oversized, even for the way I was trying to trade aggressively. I think I should have taken a half size from what I was currently at, so 25 share increments. I was taking 50. And yeah, this ended up rallying back up. Extremely impressive move. And even now, it's still pushing the highs, which is crazy to me. So I wanted to take a bit of time to kind of reflect on this so I could really think about what I want to do for tomorrow. Because this is clearly a signal, right? This is still holding near the highs. Even GLTO is still holding most of its gains here. Right? This is holding up fairly decently as well. And I think this is really important for tomorrow. I think because these stocks made such impressive moves and they're holding up decently, there's a good chance the next few days we'll see increased momentum as well. Unfortunately, I think I overshot the reaction. I went from... So it was very difficult for me too. So let me go back to VERO, right? We were in this state where I was still trying to take conservative pullbacks, and all the trades I took were conservative pullbacks, but each one I was sizing up into the move more and more. And by the time I was doing the third attempt on VERO, I was taking double size, and on MOVE, I think I was over leveraged on this as well. So going into tomorrow, because this was a max loss, I think I need to be a little bit more particular with my size. And I think a good approach for tomorrow would be to try to keep the high aggression but drastically reduce size, because I clearly overreacted today from my assessment. I took a few hours just to really reflect on it, make sure I wasn't coming to a wrong conclusion. And I want to participate in these moves, not for the money, but more so just to be in alignment with the way the market is. And right now, maybe this is also because of the cold market context, but seeing a move like this where move just flushes hard, where we're having a loop just flush hard, even VERO, this may have held up better, even though the float was higher. This may have held up better in a warmer market, but because the market was colder, right? The last few weeks we've had a cold market. Because the market was colder, I think the resolve was very chaotic and unclear, right? This one was unclear. Even move, I'm sure a lot of people were very surprised to see that this thing ended up recovering, right? For move to return. Like once this sold off, I thought it was just done. I really, truly did not expect this to make this much of a crazy move afterwards. I mean, even now it's halted up, gapping up to 19. That's crazy. But yeah, I'll be back tomorrow, refreshing, resetting. I'm still willing, if there's more gapping stocks, like if we see stocks up 100 or 150%, I'm still willing to trade aggressively on them. But because of my overreaction today, I think I need to take reduced size. So yeah, that's the plan for tomorrow. It is what it is. It's very unfortunate timing too, because I had just put out a video saying how I was doing so well in this cold market. Then we see this very hot signal and I overreact. So I'm a bit disappointed with myself for that, but I think it can be a good learning experience too. So with that said, if you enjoyed this recap, please do leave a like. I stream every day from 7 a.m. till 9 a.m., so if you're interested in that, you can check that out. And I will be back tomorrow for the live stream. Take care, everyone.